In the peaceful town of Lamora, three best friends, Joy, Tasha, and Ruth, had just finished their final exams in secondary school. They were young, vibrant, and eager to step into the world as grown-ups. Every day after school, they would gather under the big mango tree near their school to talk about their dreams. One sunny afternoon, Joy leaned against the tree and sighed. "This town is so boring. All we ever do is school, church, and chores. I want to live like those girls we see in movies. Parties, music, rich men. It all looks so exciting." Tasha laughed, tossing her braids behind her shoulder. "You're right, Joy. I've heard about a nightclub in the city where the music is loud, the drinks are free, and the men are generous." Ruth frowned. She was the cautious one among them. But what about her parents? You know they'd never let us go to a nightclub. And besides, what if something bad happens? Joy rolled her eyes. "Ruth, you're always scared of everything. We're not kids anymore. We've finished school. It's time to enjoy life." Tasha nodded eagerly. "Yes, Ruth. Don't you want to know what it's like to dress up, dance all night, and have people admire you?" Ruth hesitated. She didn't want to be the odd one out, and deep down, she was curious. Finally, she sighed. "All right, but just once. I don't want any trouble." That evening, the girls borrowed clothes and makeup from Joy's older sister. They transformed themselves into dazzling young ladies, far different from the schoolgirls their parents knew. As they walked to the bus stop, their excitement grew. The city was alive with bright lights and loud music. When they arrived at the nightclub, the bouncer hesitated, but Joy's confident smile convinced him to let them in. The inside of the club was like nothing they had ever seen before. Colorful lights flashed across the walls, and the music was so loud they could feel it in their chests. "This is amazing," Joy shouted over the music. Almost immediately, men started approaching them. Some were young, while others were much older. One of the men, a smooth-talking guy named Dave, offered to buy them drinks. "You ladies are too beautiful to be standing here alone," he said with a charming smile. Joy giggled. "We don't mind some company." The girls danced, laughed, and felt like queens. Dave and his friends showered them with compliments and drinks, making them feel special. Over the next few weeks, the girls made it a habit to sneak out of their homes at night. They became regulars at the nightclub, lying to their parents about where they were. The thrill of the nightlife and the attention from men made them feel invincible. One night, an older man named Mr. Daniel entered the club. He was tall, well-dressed, and carried an air of authority. The room seemed to grow quieter when he walked in. When his eyes fell on the three girls, he smiled. "You three look like stars," he said, his voice smooth and deep. "I can give you the life you've always dreamed of. Money, clothes, trips to faraway places, anything you want." Joy's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Really? That sounds perfect." Tasha was equally thrilled, but Ruth felt a strange unease. There was something cold and calculating about Mr. Daniel's gaze, but she didn't want to ruin the moment. Mr. Daniel began to spend time with the girls, showering them with expensive gifts and taking them to luxurious restaurants. They believed they had found the key to happiness. One evening, he invited them to his mansion on the outskirts of the city. The house was enormous, with tall gates and walls covered in strange carvings. The girls were both excited and nervous as they stepped inside. "This is where your new life begins," Mr. Daniel said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He led them into a room filled with candles and strange symbols drawn on the floor. "What's going on?" Ruth asked, her voice trembling. "Don't be afraid," Mr. Daniel said. "This is part of the process. Trust me." Before they could react, the doors slammed shut. The air grew heavy, and a deep, eerie chant filled the room. Shadows danced across the walls, and the girls felt a wave of fear they couldn't explain. They tried to run, but their legs wouldn't move. The room spun around them, and everything went black. When they woke up, they were lying on the cold floor. Their bodies felt strange, and when they tried to stand, they realized they couldn't move their legs. Panic set in as they realized they were paralyzed from the waist down. "What's happening to us?" Tasha cried, tears streaming down her face. Mr. Daniel stood in the doorway, his face void of emotion. You wanted riches and excitement, didn't you? But every gift comes with a price. The girls begged for mercy, but Mr. Daniel turned and walked away, leaving them trapped in the mansion. Days turned into weeks as they lay there, helpless and abandoned. Eventually, a kind woman named Mama Rose heard rumors about the mansion and decided to investigate. She found the girls weak and frightened and took them to her small home. Mama Rose cared for them as best as she could, using herbal remedies and prayers, but their legs never healed. The once vibrant girls were now shadows of their former selves, filled with regret for the choices they had made. Tasha's health began to deteriorate rapidly. Despite Mama Rose's efforts, she grew weaker with each passing day. One morning, she closed her eyes and never opened them again. Joy and Ruth wept bitterly, blaming themselves for her death. I should have stopped us that night, Ruth whispered, tears streaming down her face. We all made mistakes, Joy replied, but now we have to live with them. The two girls spent the rest of their lives unable to walk, their dreams shattered. They became a warning to others in Lamora, sharing their story with anyone who would listen. Not everything that glitters is gold, they would say. Be careful who you trust, and never trade your values for empty promises. Their story spread far and wide, a painful but powerful lesson for all who heard it.